I'm Chris Chan. I'm a visual anthropologist here at CUT. And I thought we would start using Chanthropology to actually start working through real contemporary problems that are also visual problems. And to use a little bit of, visual anthropology's insights and methods to help unpack and decode some of the stuff that's happening around us, including this really stupid Pepsi commercial. So this Pepsi thing happened. And there's been a lot of well-deserved outrage and controversy about it, especially because it kind of appropriates real protest and real people's anxieties in a really cheap way to sell a really stupid product. This ad obviously fails on several registers, but it actually kind of succeeds as an advertisement. And that's because we're now all doing the labor of circulating and reproducing it every time we tweet about it, or write about it on Facebook, or share a think piece about it, or make a meme about it. Yeah. It's basically placed this product back on the tip of our tongues and in the forefront of our consciousness years after we actually even forgot it existed. So, we'll think about this as an invitation to visually decode the images that we see in this ad. We're primed to actually think about images here because the entire story in this commercial is about photography. And the cameras themselves are actually kind of actors in this story. So one is pointed at the false Kendall Jenner, and the other is pointed at the supposedly real one, who molts out of the dead skin of her wig and her signature dark lipstick. One is used to paint a kind of consumer fantasy at a photo shoot. The other is trying to capture some transcendent, real, authentic, political act of disobedience at a protest. One is operated by probably a freelance photographer employed by a corporate client. The other is being operated by a Muslim woman who is objectified as a political token of oppression. One captures Jenner wearing this metallic sheet dress, almost industrial. And then the other captures her wearing this proletariat blue denim, and literally with a blue collar. Yet there's a third camera, and it's the one filming all these competing photographic stories. This is the camera that's actually filming the commercial, the camera that we're sitting behind as we watch it. And this camera is telling us none of these cameras are capturing anything at all. None of these images are real. The real Kendall Jenner is also a fake, a reproduction. An image. In fact, we've seen this commercial before, and Coca-Cola released it in 1971. And the message is same in that commercial as it is in this one. And the times were just as turbulent and fraught with tension then as they are now. People were dealing with anti-war protests against the Vietnam War, civil rights, women's liberation, the Stonewall riots. Right? These are all social movements and protests that were brought to American audiences in their living rooms by the same TV that also brought them these ads. You might remember the finale of Mad Men, where Don Draper is sitting blissfully at peace at his hippie retreat, before we cut to this now iconic Coca-Cola commercial. A landmark for the advertising industry, which then understood that consumers desired more than function from its products. But what we really truly desire is something realer than that. And that's the job of advertisers, and that's exactly what they seek to deliver us. Remember that the television also broadcasted to us the daily threat of nuclear apocalypse and the horrors of the Vietnam War. What did people truly desire in 1971? Bottled refreshment? Or world peace and harmony on the brink of mutually assured destruction? And thus the invention of the brand, which tactically confuses an ideology with a consumer product, and it confuses the commodity with a solution for that horrible and crushing, alienating anxiety. But there's an unfortunate kernel of truth that's presented in the Pepsi commercial. It's that we live in a world bombarded with the visual evidence of police brutality, of racism, of Islamophobia, of transphobia, etc. Activists have taken to the streets to demonstrate that there is a real crisis underway, and it has to do with people's real material safety and well-being. But we have also all been guilty of the same sin that the Pepsi commercial commits. And that's confusing political ideology with consumption. We participate in consumer activism all the time. We readily choose to vote with our dollars over other kinds of political activities like protesting or direct action, or actually literally voting because it's just easier and more convenient, and because it makes us feel better. Even the starving artist Chalice that we see in the beginning of the Pepsi commercial can still afford a can of Pepsi because it's also imbued with it a kind of political mythology that assuages him about the alienation of being poor under modern capitalism. Marketing has had to turn consumers into brand activists who pledge their allegiance to brands that somehow reflect their own politics. It turns us into digital canvassers whenever we tweet or Facebook product endorsements for things that we like. But did we ever stop to think that if Pepsi loses us or our business because of the saccharine and distasteful commercial, that we're just aligning ourselves with Coke instead? And what happens when we divert our money into one cola company over another? It certainly didn't create world peace in 1971, and it definitely won't end police brutality, or xenophobia, or racism, or violence against trans people. The commercial promises us we are not alone because this commodity finally brings us all together. When in reality, we really know that all we're left with is the same cloying sugar water and a bitter aftertaste.